We're here with Jordan today, and we are going to do her signature silver. You probably recognize her from my social channels. Her hair is one that I get questions on a lot. So I'm going to show you how we do her silver. We're going to go through and do a heavy full highlight to really blonde her up, because last time we went a little more dimensional, so we have a lot to work with today. And then I'll show you one of her many toners that we do on her. We always switch it up and either go darker with the silver or more blonde, more blue, more purple. So we'll see what we do today and follow along. All right, so first I am going to section off the front from the back. So I'm gonna go back. If you watch my last videos, you see that I like to go where the head dips down, just to make sure that we're bringing some of the front pieces are falling and cascading back over the crown. So we're going to part off that way to the top of the ear on both sides and just clip them up and put them out of the way, and we're going to start on the back of the head. Take one slice back here first, and we're gonna weave this section because there's a lot of baby hairs back here. So I don't want it to be super bold underneath. That's not natural. So I like to weave it so you still have some dimension, and then I'm gonna tease this as well just for a little bit of extra diffusion. And then we're gonna go in and do the backwards foil to make sure I can get really up close to the scalp. And blur that in. And then we're going to do one more before we get into the actual technique back here. So back here, we're gonna split this into two sections. Now, depending on the shape of your client's head, you always wanna customize everything to your client. So some people have a little bit of a wider head in the back, so you use your best judgment. Sometimes you can do just two sections. Sometimes you'll have to divide it into 3 sections to keep it workable back here. But we're gonna do 2 on Jordan today. And so I like to do diagonal sections. So first, you can see it's like a 45-degree angle back here, so it's not going to be a perfect section right there. So I'm actually going to take her hairline right here, so we can blonde that up so it works with the blonde back here and the blonde that we're going to be doing for her money piece around her hairline. And we are going to weave this one just like we did the prior 2 foils. Now, with everyone's hairline is different, so use your best judgment with your client's hairline and put the foils where you see fit in order to give them the amount of brightness that you want to see when they put their hair up in a ponytail. All right, so now that we did that, you can see that we can use this angle and just work our way up. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this angle and I'm going to pivot a little bit as I get higher up the head. So we'll end still on a diagonal, but it's going to be a little different as we get up higher up. So here you can see there's like a triangle. We're going to work off this section. I want the most dimension to be in this area back here. So that's why pivoting like this works. We're going to do that, and we're going to take a slice right off the top of this one, leave that out. And then I'm actually going to just tease this and work off of this one right now, so it's a little bit more of a pop, because that's going to be laying on the previous foil that we did, and I want it to be pretty blonde when she wears her hair up in a ponytail. Now always just apply your lightener to her natural color, to the regrowth, Don't overlap the blonde, so be very conscious to pick that out. Now her previous ends are not blonde enough to put silver on. So what we're gonna do back at the bowl is we're gonna do some treatments back there to break through any buildup, mineral buildup, purple shampoo buildup, any of that kind of leaves a film on the hair. And we're gonna work through that so we can get her to a really nice blonde, which I know is under here, so that we can apply that silver toner and have it take well. So I'm gonna pivot again. Again, we're going to do a slice right off the top of this. Leave that piece out. And then I'm going to weave this. I'm doing more thicker weaves as well. Not like a baby weave, pretty substantial thick weave. But we're taking baby slices, so the section is very fine. This is going to ensure that you're not going to have like ribbons of color that tend to look stripy. This is going to look very, very blended. And I like to apply and feather up so that the blonde is starting at different sections or different points of blonde at the top. So it's very blended already in the foil, and you don't have to use a shadow root to give you that blend. Because then a shadow root's going to fade and you're just going to have a harsh foil line. You can see she has a lot of darkness going all the way down back here. And this is the last one that I'm going to really leave out. The round of a head dips down at the top of the crown, and then it dips down to go back into the back of the neck. So right here you can see that it's starting to come out, and this is where the curve of the head is. That is where I want to stop leaving dimension, because all of this is going to be very dimensional and leave those pops that you really want to see when our hair is down. But if you go higher up with this, she's going to be way too dimensional for what we want the end result to be. So for this one, I'm going to do the same like I did the last two foils. We're just going to take a slice off the top, leave out this dimension, and that's going to be the last foil that we do on this side that is going to be dimensional. I'm going to leave this as well. Now after this, I am actually going to take these leave outs. I'm going to tease them and see what they look like after they're teased to see if I want to add some blonde back here. I do. So I'm going to weave into this section. I'm going to look for the darker hairs and try and pick those out. If you don't get them all, that's totally fine, but I don't want to be lightening a lot of that bright blonde. So that can all be left out. This, make sure you're not overlapping on blonde that is super blonde and can't handle that anymore. But I want to bring up and get rid of a little bit more of the dimension that's on the ends back here. So I'm just going to tip out this piece. We're going to feather it up at a diagonal back and get those pieces blonde, because they were left as lived-in lowlights last time, and we're blending her up a lot more this time. But now we're at this point where we're not going to leave out any more dimension, but you can see we're at an angle that is going to work the rest of the way up. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to stay on this angle all the way up. I'm going to take a section about 1/4 of an inch thick, and from here on out, we're not leaving out any hair. Now, I like to use this comb. It's by Ashley Norman. I love it because it has different teeth on here that when you put it in, it sections it out and already does a really well weave for you. So by doing that, I go through and I do it twice on her just so I can get a little bit more thickness left out. But it's such a baby fine weave. It's like perfect without having to do a lot of work yourself. So that's what I'm going to continue and do. If you don't have this comb, which you don't need it, but I highly suggest it if you'd like to make your life a little easier, you just do really, really tiny, tiny weaves back here. So you can see it almost looks like a slice, but it's such a fine, fine weave. So this This gives you it still gives you dimension, but it's very minimal dimension, and it blends it in so well because it's such baby fine teeth. And back here, she has a lot more dimension, so we're bringing it farther down back here than we will on the sides once we get to that section. And always feathering that up to ensure a good blend. You can see too, I go closer towards the front of the head than I do towards the back, doing a slight diagonal back with my application as well, just so that I'm not always ending it on the same point. We're just going to continue this up the head, taking a 1/4 inch section, splitting it up with those baby fine weaves. And I just use my best judgment. If I feel like there's not enough left out, I'll go through with it twice. If it does a really good section out the first time, I only do it once. But once you get into the groove of this, it's so easy, so simple, and you can just power through this in no time. Most of my applications are very easy to just go once you get it down. All right, and then back here, we're getting to smaller sections. I'm gonna do one more section back here, and that's gonna leave us with a really tiny triangle. I'm then going to leave that out, and after we do the same thing on the other side, we're gonna marry those two sections together so that it's a little bit wider of a section. Right, and then looking down here, we have a lot more dimension in the leave outs as well. So I'm gonna do the same thing as I did down here. I'm gonna look, tease it, and then see what it looks like. All right, for this I can see a lot of blonde right here, so I'm just gonna leave that out. I can see this is about a level 8. It can be lift up a little more. So I'm gonna air balayage this and just let it sit in the open air so it's not going to be having the heat from a foil pushing it past what it needs to be pushed past, but it's going to lighten this just a little bit levels and it'll be good. But now I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side and we'll be back when we get to the top section. All right, so we're to the top of the head. We have a triangle section left. I'm now gonna go on the horizontal the rest of the way up. And we're just gonna do the same thing we've been doing. We're gonna take a section and we're gonna split it in two with this handy dandy comb. And then tease this and lighten it. All right, so we're to the front and the side. So I like to part off the top section. So we went to the middle of her recession and I'm just gonna part that off. And we're gonna worry about that section later. And we're gonna start on the sides. We're gonna do a money piece, pretty thick on her. As you can see, we like to do really thick money pieces. So I'm gonna go right off of her natural hairline. She has a really pretty like straight natural hairline, which is really easy to work with, the best. We're just gonna follow this pattern straight on back, and we'll see how many slices we do. This will never be the same on, like, no two people will have the exact same pattern because I like to customize it to their hairline. So we're gonna do a slice right here to the scalp. I don't want to see any roots on this money piece. And then I'm gonna do, we're gonna pivot right here and try and take this upper section so that that can be a slice as well, to marry these two foils together so that her entire hairline right there doesn't have any dimension. Alright, now I'm going to do a micro slice and I'm going to split this into two. I'm going to leave out that piece for some dimension. We're going to highlight this piece. And I'm going to do this, doing the micro slice, splitting it in two, all the way back until we hit where her ear starts. Go until about right there where her ear starts. Micro slice. So I'm thinking it's probably two more of these. Two more foils, and that's the side of the money piece. This is gonna make a huge impact, but it still leaves out a little bit of dimension so that it really blends, and especially when they wear their hair up, it's not like a huge stripe of blonde. We're all about the blend to give some low maintenance color. Cause what do you like to come every, is it 6 months? Usually?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we wanna make sure this color lasts. You always want to treat your money piece as a separate part of the entire overall look. So whatever technique you're doing on the rest of the head, you treat the money piece different and you just marry the two together. All right, so the money piece is done on this side. We are going to be working on diagonal backs. But I want to make sure that when she wears her hair up in a ponytail, that this section is not left dark. Because if you're blonding up around the hairline a lot like we are, especially for her bright money piece, and we blonded up underneath here, we would have a stripe of darkness right here if she were to wear her hair in a high ponytail. That's not cute. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm just going to go off of her hairline, and we're going to lighten that section. I am going to weave this so that we're marrying the front to the back. So I'm gonna hit this and just weave the second half. So we're going from pretty much a slice to a weave. And that's going to mimic the pattern that we did on the front with the pattern that we did on the back. And I like to do this backwards foil because it really helps me get close to the ear without the ear being in the way. The money piece is done, so now we're gonna go back to the technique that we were doing. We're gonna go diagonal back. So I'm gonna take diagonal this way and go all the way up that way. So if we're starting at a diagonal right here, it leaves a pretty big triangle, which is actually works for us because that's gonna leave some dimension there. So I'm going to take a slice right off the top of that and leave this out so that we have a little bit of a dimension right there. And we're just gonna lighten this as a slice instead of weaving this, because we did already leave out that underneath. I don't want to leave out more darkness. And always feathering up that lightener to ensure a really good blend. And so we're just going to continue doing diagonal back all the way up right here in this section. Same like we did in the back. 1/4 of an inch section, weaving that. her money piece first. We're pretty much gonna do similar to what we did on the sides. So I'm gonna take a slice first and we're gonna lighten that up. I'm actually gonna do 2 slices back to back. Take a micro slice and I'm going to split that in half. Leave this out for dimension. I'm going to lighten this piece. And then here we're just gonna do diagonal backs like we've been on the side. So we did this whole side of her head, all diagonal back. You can see she has a lot of dimension left out here. You could totally go through and tease those, tip those out to bring a lot more blonde. However, I like a lot of concentrated dimension throughout here as well for the silver to go off of. She still has a lot of pretty blonde ends that we are just going to brighten up back at the bowl. So I don't want to break through this dimension that we left out for her. However, if you were doing this look on someone that wants to be really, really blonde, you could totally tip those out and have them be really blonde. But we're going to do the exact same thing to this other side and then we'll come back. All right, so we rinsed her out and I already have the Olaplex treatment sitting on her hair, mostly on her roots. I didn't do it on the ends. And so while that sits, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna use the Malibu Seat Blondes packet. What this is this is just crystals that are gonna break through all of the buildup on her end. So this is amazing. If you have a client that has really, really blonde hair, you know you've taken to them blonde before, but they have a lot of buildup because it's been months since you've seen them. Instead of hitting it with lightener, which is only going to damage the hair because it was a level 10 previously, hit it with this for about 20 minutes back at the bowl, and it will break through all of that buildup and give you a really clean canvas to tone up with. So we're just gonna pour this into your wet palm and you'll brush this through the hair that you want it to work on. So I like to do this while the Olaplex treatment is sitting on the hair so it can be working The Olaplex treatment can be working on the regrowth that we had just lightened, while this is now working on the ends, and they're doing some treatment at the exact same time. Killed two birds with one stone. I like to work smarter, not harder. So you just rub that in. You want to get it to like a paste consistency. Now also, this stuff does not smell great. It smells like pennies because it is breaking through all the minerals in our hair, which doesn't smell good. Most of the minerals are iron. We're gonna let both of these treatments sit on for 20 minutes and then we'll be back. Now I do recommend that if you use that Malibu Sea packet that you use the Undo Goo shampoo by them to make sure it's really shampooed out. All of these crystals, if you don't shampoo it out of the hair, it will caramelize when it oxidizes and they will have pink hair the next day. So make sure it is completely washed out. All right, so now we're gonna get into root shadowing. We're just gonna melt the back. I'm gonna go down about an inch in the back. I don't wanna drag it down too far. Just wanting to melt her natural with the highlights to give her more longevity out of this color. And I'm gonna take vertical sections to melt all of this. All right, and for the root melt, I just melted about to an inch of the hairline, and I'm gonna leave that hairline out so it really, really pops. Now, one of my tricks for her silver, because silver is a pretty pigmented and deep color no matter how you mix it, it grabs a lot. So I like to, like we leaved out the inch around her face, I will leave that out while the rest of this tones for a good like 15 minutes and then hit that around the face for the last 5. So it still tones to a silver, but it ends up toning it to a little bit of a lighter silver than the rest, and you can have a little bit more depth and dimension that way. All right, so this is gonna process for 15 minutes and then we're gonna hit around the face for the last 5. right, so here is the after all blown out. Beautifully silver. A lot of that darkness is broken through, but she's still very dimensional, and it just blurs and blends beautifully together. We have this nice pop of a money piece, which looks beautiful when she would wear her hair up. Just blends in so nice, but still dimensional. And if she looks down for me, you can see that it just blends beautifully at the root. So we're gonna curl her up, and then we'll show you it all curled. All right, so here is the beautiful result. All curled, obsessed, brings out all that dimension. Love it every time.
Every time.
But thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little something. Head on over to all my other social channels to learn a little more. See you next time.